Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. You are watching and listening to Historian Radio, and this is Echoes of the News. I am Muhammad Hussain Qazi, and these are the headlines of today from the past. On this day, the 25th of September, 1690, the first ever newspaper, Public Occurrences Foreign and Domestic, was printed or made its debut in Boston. And as discussed on many a bulletin prior to this, the publication of any newspaper, including but not limited to the public occurrences, foreign and domestic, in this time period from 1690 to the early 1700s, most definitely has paved the way for not just contemporary print media, but generally the development of media as a whole. And so, this too would be one of the most significant dates in the history of modern media. Moving forward, in 1897, Britain's first motor bus service started in Bradford, and many of our viewers have who are familiar with the stereotypes of London, one of such are the iconic double-decker buses, the way for which would be paved for by the first motor bus service that would start between Bradford and other cities in Britain on this day, the 25th of September, 1897. In 1954, on this very day, Dr. Francois Duvalier, also known as Papa Doc Duvalier, would win the presidential elections in Haiti. And as history would remember him, Papa Doc, or Dr. Francois Duvalier, known as Papa Doc Duvalier, would be one of the most brutal dictators, not just in the history of Haiti, but in the history of autocratic regimes. On this day, in 1957, over 1,000 National Guardsmen carried out the desegregation reforms in Little Rock, Arkansas, which would, which would be to escort 9 colored pupils into the Central High School at Little Rock in Arkansas. This would be one of the most significant and vital moments leading up to the civil rights movements that would unfold in the United States. Now we move on to the next segment of our show, where we recount the famous deaths and births of historic individuals from the 20th and 19th centuries and sometimes earlier. Born on this day in 1852 was Field Marshal Sir John French, an interesting name for the person who was the commander in chief of the British expeditionary forces in France during the First World War. And in addition to Field Marshal Sir John French, in 1933, Adolfo Suarez, Spanish Prime Minister who speeded reforms in 1977, was also born on this day. He was one of the most significant leaders in the history of Spanish politics, particularly so the contemporary history of Spanish politics, which would unfold after the fall of the Francoist regime. And on this day in 1849, Johann Strauss the Elder, famous Austrian composer behind the Radetzky March, amongst other compositions, would perish on this day. Well, that is it for the headlines of today. This was Historian Radio's Echoes of the News, and I am Muhammad Hussain Qazi, bringing you the headlines from today as history first heard them. Good night.